Hi, Shipra. Can she hear me?
Yeah, she can hear you, but we will not be able.
So, as you know, we launched the Vedika Scholars program for women last year. We are 6 months into the program, and we've now launched admissions for the next batch. We are quite pleased with the amount of interest. Just as a quick record for all of you, last year we launched admissions only in April, and we had 250 applicants by the time we closed receiving applications. We did almost 200 interviews, and then we made about 70 offers, and we have a class of 40 that's at Vedika. This year we've launched admissions about 2 weeks ago. We have already 65 or 70 applicants. And what you should know, and you should tell other people who might be interested in Vedika, is that we do admissions on a rolling basis. So the big difference between the way we look at people and many other organizations or institutions look at people is other people look at people in comparison with each other. We are not interested in comparisons. We think that if you have the potential, you have the drive, you have the interest, and you meet the bar for our program, then I'm not looking for you to be beaten down by somebody who is supposedly better. So we offer admissions on a rolling basis, and as people sign up, we interview them, and if they meet the benchmark for Vedika, then we make the offer. So there is a huge advantage in early applications, and the admissions team and I are always available for any queries that you might have or things that you might want to do. But what I'd like to tell you is some of the questions that we get very often from students, from parents, from other institutions about Vedika. And the first thing is, why have we put together and launched a women's only program like Vedika? And one of the big questions that get asked is, are we not preparing women for a world where they have to work with men, so why are we creating an unnatural environment? The first thing is that all of us live in a society where there are enough men. So by coming to a program for a year and a half that is only women is absolutely not making people incapable of dealing with the real world. The bigger issue is that for very early on in life, without realizing it, women actually get, both men and women, actually look at themselves through a very strong gender lens. So we attribute certain characteristics, behaviors, aspirations to ourselves because we are looking at ourselves from the lens of a man, and men do the same thing vis-a-vis women. It's just the way gender dynamics work. And one of my favorite examples is that, when a young girl goes out on a date for the first time, she will always pick at her food because it's very feminine to have a small appetite and be very gentle and tiny and all of that. But the same girls in a group of 4 or 5, when they go out the same time, sometime, to a pub or to a restaurant, they actually eat very heartily. And the reason is that we need to create an environment where people, both men and women, actually feel safe to express who they are without needing to think about themselves as men and women in relation to the other sex. So it's very important to create an environment, and there's lots of research and evidence now for leadership qualities and for confidence and for being able to express your own aspirations and desires. It's important to, at some point in your life, be in a safe zone, and Vedika looks to provide that. There's another strong piece of evidence, which is that lots of organizations and universities across the world have now launched women's only programs in executive education, which are very popular, and lots of people sign up for them, and women are finding these very useful. So I feel like, why should women need to wait till they are 35 and 38 to understand the joys of being a part of an organization, of a group where they're able to be themselves, be authentic, and not have to look at themselves through the lens of a man. So that's the real philosophy behind running a women's only program. And you should actually, of course, you should talk to me, but many of you should talk to our scholars. We have a very vibrant, fun group of women who have been at Vedika now for 6 months, and ask them what it feels like to be in a women's only program. Um, when we were launching last year, I was sure that we wouldn't get applications from women's colleges because they must be completely fed up of being in an all-women's program. But interestingly, we have a lot of people, a lot of girls, and a lot of applications from women's only colleges, and we actually have a few in our program from LSR and a bunch of other places that which are women's only. The other very popular question that we have been asked, and we find that there's been a lot of interest in this particular aspect of the program we offer, is how are we different from other MBA programs, not just in the country but actually in the world. And we try and feel that we describe Vedika as an MBA plus program. So we have all the courses that would be taught in a core MBA. We don't do the electives. Instead of the electives, we have 3 different tracks, which we believe are absolutely tailor-made to making a Vedika scholar industry and job ready. So you're ready for a career, you're not ready just to get a job and then not be able to handle it. There's a lot of reports in India where employers say that of course we get highly qualified people, but they're just not great employees. And some of the things that we've heard from employers, and also it's my own experience as an employer for the last 20 years, that there are 3 things that I look for in addition to the fact that somebody's smart and knows a little bit about what they'll come and do. The first is personal integrity and attitude. Hello? So I always tell people that if you bring energy and attitude to me, then I can teach you everything else. And I think how to conduct yourself with a certain amount of dignity and poise, how to behave, how to earn the respect of your peers, your employer, your seniors, and your juniors. These are all things that can be learned, and it's important for you to get exposed to these, so that when you have to make a choice between 2 kinds of behavior, you actually make the choice that leads you to be treated with dignity and with respect. So we have a taking charge of personal growth track, which focuses a lot on these kinds of attributes. In addition, it talks about women as leaders. The second thing that employers often talk about is that, people come and join jobs, but they have no idea of the context. So what does it feel like to run a business which is completely out of sync with the world that we live in? Or do you want to be in a job or work in an area that actually makes a difference to the way society is evolving, the country is evolving, and make a difference? And in those cases, it's important to have context. Context in terms of India, context in terms of political systems, context in terms of our history. And for that, we have a liberal arts track. So most Vedika scholars will go through some lectures which are about, let's say, the philosophy of management. Economics courses which will help you in practicing management. A little bit of India's history, a little bit of India's sociology that helps you get a sense of what is it that makes up the society and the market in which you will operate. So that is what we call learning from the liberal arts. And our third track is, I feel like one of the biggest differentiators, because employer after employer says, we get people with great ideas, very bright, but you know what? They just can't communicate and think logically or in a structured manner. And our third track is therefore critical thinking and communications. And in that track, we actually train our scholars in oral, visual, written, and reading skills. There's visual communication as well, but right from writing a business proposal to an email at one end, and at the other end to be able to read, comprehend, summarize, and critically review. So how do you structure what you read? How do you write? We have a writing center, and we have a lady who's a full-time faculty who is on campus and is going to train our scholars day after day in terms of good writing, which is a very, very rare skill. So that's how we believe Vedika is different from other MBA programs in the country. I think some of the other features that are interesting and different are we have a group of 12 or 14 mentors. They are senior executives from India who are available to each of our scholars throughout the 18 months and help them make career choices, introduce them to people who might benefit their jobs or their choices and things like that. We don't have a question we get asked quite often is what about faculty? Now, a lot of the good programs in India, for example, including the Indian School of Business when it started out, have drawn upon the benefit of high quality visiting faculty, because for a new program or even for better established programs in India, good faculty is reluctant to leave a job and come out to teach. So the best way to expose students to high quality faculty from across the world is to follow a visiting faculty model. So we have almost 50 faculty who come and teach through the 18 months, and they are available to our students both for mentoring and teaching. We focused in a very considered fashion on a combination of high quality academics and people who have been in the corporate sector, understand the importance of jobs, of organizations, and what is expected of people in their jobs, so that we don't leave people with just pure theory, nor is it people who only understand how to run a business and can't actually create frameworks so that your knowledge becomes applicable and also replicable. So far we've got very good feedback on both the kind of people they have been exposed to from academia as well as from business. I think in terms of the admission procedure, some of you may already know we have a form. You have to register, you have to fill up a form. It has a couple of essays, and then there is a personal interview during which we want to actually find out how much a person would benefit from Vedika, and also how well suited they are to the curriculum. We are looking for well-rounded personalities, but we're really looking for women who are hungry for making a life that is distinctive, where they are committed to being working career people, and that you take some responsibility for your own life into your own hands. That's the kind of people we are looking for. We've been very lucky so far, and we are looking forward to getting lucky this year again. One of the questions we get asked is in the context of a degree. So Vedika will issue a certificate jointly with the Sri Aurobindo Society for Arts and Communications, which has been running for more than 10 years now. Hopefully by the end of the year, we will have a couple other partnerships in place, so there will be that endorsement. But we can't issue a degree because we are not a university. And this is with a great amount of thinking behind it, because the government of India has such crazy higher education laws that you can't experiment. So you have to continue to offer what's already being offered. Both innovation, responding to the need of the hour becomes very tough if you're part of the university system. So we have found, based on past experience, that we should launch a program, make it successful. Once it stands on its own feet and gets recognized, then it's easy to fall into a university system where then the program actually is well established and doesn't get messed with. It is an service. But the essential program is that, one, it gives us more time to offer more things to our scholars, but the peer-to-peer learning, which is a very important part of everyone's education, the exposure to diversity, we all talk about it, but what does diversity mean? So when you live in close quarters with 35, 40 people, very different from yourself, sometimes culturally, sometimes from the point of regions, sometimes language, sometimes eating habits, sometimes living habits, that is a big exposure to diversity. So I feel that learning from your peers, learning diversity in a very real sense, and also being able to commit yourself without distraction for 18 months makes for a much richer learning experience, and that's why we want to do an 18-month fully residential program. And given the success of the first batch and the responses to what we've planned, I feel like we're onto something correct and we don't need to change it yet. So we have, like I said, we've launched our second round of admissions. We've got roughly 70-75 applicants already. We're just starting to interview, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions that you might have about the admissions. I think some of you are having trouble with your connections. I keep seeing people join and drop off. But if you want to just jot down a question or query that you have, I'll answer that for everyone. Shipra, we've got one of the things that I didn't mention was that one term in the scholars program over 18 months is focused on mentoring, being mentored by a woman CEO. So every scholar will be attached to a woman CEO or a head of a business, and that 1 month they will spend with them. And that we feel is a huge plus. Not that it's meant for placements, it's meant for exposure to women in leadership, but I think that sort of gives a step up to the placement program. We assure each of our scholars a job, and not just a job, but a good job. Keeping in mind, if they have worked before, then it will be an improvement over their previous role. And if people have not worked before, then it will be in keeping with what a starting salary at a good management school should be. We've had a lot of interest from companies. I spent time talking to companies before we launched Vedika. There are at least 15 or 20 companies who are committed to coming and recruiting on campus. There are two reasons for this. You would all know that companies have very strong diversity targets now. They are meant to have many more women in their workforce and on their boards. And companies are keen, but they get young women to join, and then those women leave the program, leave their jobs, and companies are actually quite disappointed at the amount of training and investment that they've made, and then it's just lost to the world. So the fact that Vedika is actually in a very focused manner working on women who come not just with the traditional strengths of an MBA program, but also with an understanding of the liberal arts, which is context to their work, the fact that they will be good communicators, and finally that they will be far more assured and confident women who have been equipped with how to deal with life's choices, so that they can stay longer in the workforce, is very attractive to the working world. So there's a lot of people who have made commitments that they will recruit from Vedika, and the rest is personal commitments based on what we've done in the past. Pramat Sinha, who's one of the other founders of Vedika, was the founding dean of the Indian School of Business, personally took care that every student from there in the first batch was placed. And given that this is a batch of 40 and then the next batch will be 60, we are actually very confident of each one of you getting a very good job at the end of Vedika. One of the other things that you may not know is that I actually run a media company, and I have been in the business of working with chief executives and chief financial officers and chief information officers. So the C-suite of companies across the country for the last 15-18 years. So our our links as a team are very strong in corporate India, and we are able to access pretty much any company and any person that somebody would like to that somebody would either like to work with or apply for a job for. So placements are assured, and so far we have no reason to worry on anybody's behalf. Some of the companies that have made commitments are Deloitte, Microsoft, KPMG, Cipla, Godrej, Map My Genome, Elara Capital, Microsoft. These are some of the companies that have HP, some of the companies that have already committed to recruiting from us. Reliance.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Okay. I have a question which says, can I work while the program is going on? So what we had decided was, when we launched last year, we weren't quite sure what we'd do about internships. But we find our scholars are so high energy and are so keen to pack more into their day that as long as we have a commitment that their grades won't suffer, that they will not miss any class, and if they declare to us where they will either be doing an internship or doing a job which is offline, and they can manage along with all the commitments of the course, we have actually not had a problem. So people who can cope with the course and more are very welcome to taking on internships or part-time offers that help them keep in touch with whatever they've been doing. I have a question around the campus. So this you would probably know from the website, but our campus is the Sri Aurobindo Center for Arts and Communications, right next to the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi. So it's really the heart of the city. It's a very nice, clean, green campus. The hostel is just down the road in Katwadia Sarai, and the classes are held in the Sri Aurobindo Center. The hostel, again, like every other hostel, is great fun. We take as much care as we can to provide a fun environment. I've not got complaints about the food. In fact, people are quite happy with the food that they get. Also, we feel like when students come up to us and have requests on some things that they want to do in the hostel, as long as it is not out of the ordinary, as long as it's not going to interfere with security and with just decorum and courtesy in the hostel, it's actually a pretty free living environment. Any other questions?
Hello.
Okay, I have a question about the Shadow a Woman CEO program. So here we actually went out and originally looked for women who we thought were exemplary and great leaders, and everybody was excited and they've all signed up to be CEO mentors. Amongst those with the mentors, how we will match them is really based on interest and fields of study. But otherwise, we feel that women in leadership is actually a pretty open idea, and you could work with anybody. In the last 6 months, we have had on 2 or 3 occasions our scholars saying, could we write to different people who they had thought they would like to be mentored by, to be included in the list, and frankly we've written to them and they've all signed up. So it's quite an interesting and fun thing to do, where if you spot a good high senior woman CEO who you'd like to mentor with, then we're happy to write to them and get them to join the CEO mentor group, so that one scholar can be attached to them. Any more questions?
Hello, is it audible?
You will get a postgraduate certificate. A degree can only be issued by a full-fledged recognized university. So, for example, the Indian School of Business, the Indian Institutes of Management, none of them issue a degree.
Hello.
Um, I have a question around the founding class. So we have 38 scholars. We had 40, but one person was not well and had to leave the program. But essentially an admission class of 40. And the girls are from all over. We have 40% of our scholars are non-engineers. 60% of our scholars are actually engineers. They are all between 22, 23 years of age, and about the oldest is 30. So the average age of the class is about 25. Half of them have work experience and half of them are fresh. So it's a very nice mixed class. Regionally, it's all over, from all over the country, and different socio-economic backgrounds, different religions. So it's a very nice mixed batch, very high on energy, very performance oriented. Great feedback on the class from every faculty member who comes. We just finished a course with a very interesting lady called Stacey Blake Beard, who used to be at Harvard, had been visiting faculty at the Indian School of Business, and this year was at Vedika running group dynamics. And she said that this kind of energy, this kind of performance, and this kind of enthusiasm in a class, she felt that they were very smart, got what they exactly the essence of every class, and are very, very, I wouldn't say ambitious, but very aspirational. So we've got compliments for the founding class from most of our faculty, and that's been very, very encouraging. Right, I have a question which is quite long, and so it says that how are we going to convince people in the industry about what we are doing? I think that process has already begun, and given the kind of interest we are seeing, not just, I can give you a small example. I was at a conference hosted by Microsoft some days ago, and the chairman of Microsoft in India is a gentleman called Bhaskar Pramanik. And he asked me why I hadn't invited him to Vedika to talk to our scholars. And I told him that I was hoping that the group and the program would take root and become big and worthy, and then I would call him. And he said, listen, I would love to come. And so he's coming next week to talk. But more importantly, he told me he would also like to mentor some scholars. So I think the combination of a women's only program, a management program that is actually adding on to it things that employers look for, and to you this may not seem obvious, but to an employer, adding on the liberal arts track, the communications track, and a personal growth leadership track is actually very, very attractive. So employers see the value of this kind of combination of teaching actually very favorably. So I think we are on that path, and as the first batch graduates, it will become very evident to everybody that this is clearly something that that is taking root amongst industry people. Also, the commitments we already have in terms of recruitment. On all business plan, case studies, competitions, Vedika scholars are all, as we speak, I think a Vedika scholar is at the Holt Prize competition in Ahmedabad. They were there in IIM Bangalore a couple of weeks ago, and given that the program is not even 6 months old, I think they're well on their way to being invited to wherever they need to be. And I think it's only today we got a request from the Indian Policy Forum for Vedika scholars to participate. So I think that's definitely catching on. Yeah, so the answer to that question is yes, you will absolutely be eligible. And yes, so I think we as the program team, the faculty in itself, are so committed to Vedika that we talk about it and do our bit to tell the world about Vedika all the time. And I think the rest of it is in the scholars' hands. So fortunately, we have a great group of a great founding class. And I think every new batch that comes is only going to bring greater glory to the program. So yes, that's Banani, right?
Thank you.
I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes,
But
yes.
thank you for the question. One of the other things that gets a lot of excitement is our guest lectures. We have had in a span of 6 months, we have had 40 guest lecturers, ranging from a lady called Roby Damlin, who runs something called the Family Forum between Palestine and Israel, to bring people together who are grieving for the same thing, which is lost children who have been lost to the fight and the war and the struggle and conflict between Israel and Palestine at one end, to the finance minister of Bhutan at the other, who came and talked to scholars about gross national happiness. And the range in the middle is a whole host of women leaders, people who have been serial entrepreneurs. Jay Panda is coming this month, so politicians. It's a very, very nice mix of academicians, um, uh, civil service, civic society people, journalists, bureaucrats. So it's a very nice mix and vibrant mix of people, and we do have guest lectures constantly on campus. Any doubts that you have, tough questions that you want to ask me? Not the easy ones. Right, I think I guess I've answered the questions that anybody on this chat has right now. Um, so if you can just, maybe just, all of you who are on this Hangout, if you can just drop me a quick two words saying, yes, all your questions are answered, or you don't have any more questions, then I'll know and we can close this for now and do another one in some time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Right. So if there's no more questions, then we'll close the Hangout for today. So thanks very much. I think Ananya on my team who handles admissions for us, and all of our emails and phone numbers are on the website. Please don't hesitate, and if I can ask you to spread the word, given your interest in the program, we'd be very grateful for any interest that you can generate at Vedika, so that we have an absolutely great second batch as well. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.